Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jara and I primarily do videos about gardening and growing your own food, but sometimes I like to show you guys the recipes and things that I make with the same exact things that I harvest from my garden, just to give you all some ideas. Today's recipe only requires 5 ingredients. The main ingredient of this dish is yard-long beans. I love to grow yard-long beans during the summer because it's one of the few crops that actually survive all the heat and rains that I get here in Florida. It grows and thrives in those conditions a lot better than regular standard green beans, but I know a lot of people aren't familiar with them, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to share one of my favorite recipes using yard-long beans, and that's yard-long beans stir-fried with mushrooms. The 5 ingredients that you will need for this recipe is, of course, yard-long beans. And if you didn't know, yard-long beans come in lots of different colors. This is the standard dark green color, but it also comes in light green, red, purple, and even like a mosaic or mixed colored variety. They all pretty much cook and taste the same. And then you're gonna need a lot of mushrooms. The mushrooms of your choice is fine. I really love making this dish with shiitake mushrooms, but I couldn't find any locally at this time, so instead I'm using these baby Bella mushrooms. The other ingredients you will need is just a little bit of some hoisin sauce for some flavor and to help thicken up the stir fry just a little bit, and an oil of your choice. Since this is a stir fry, I really like to use sesame oil, but you can use whatever oil you like olive oil or vegetable oil. I just really like the smokiness of the sesame oil with this dish. And the last ingredient you're going to need is just some really finely minced up garlic. To be honest with you guys, I'm using the pre-minced stuff, but you could definitely freshly mince your own. I will also post this recipe on my website. That way you can copy, save, or print it if you'd like. So anyways, let's get started. The very first thing we're gonna do is start slicing up these mushrooms so they can marinate. All these mushrooms have been cleaned and washed already, and they've dried for a little bit. I like to flip them over and then just slice them. Mushrooms are like a sponge and they really absorb whatever marinade or seasonings and stuff that you add to them. So I really like to marinate them at minimum 30 minutes before you start cooking this recipe. Now that we have our mushrooms all cut up, let's just make the marinade. We're gonna put a little bit of some hoisin sauce in a bowl. I'm using about 24 ounces of mushrooms here. It's a lot because I really love mushrooms. So I've added about half a cup of hoisin sauce in here. Then I'm gonna add the garlic. This is like a good 3 heaping tablespoons full of minced garlic. And lastly, we're gonna put some sesame oil in here. I probably added another half cup or so of sesame oil. Then we're gonna mix all of this together before we add the mushrooms. Now let's add our mushrooms to the marinade and mix all of this up really well. All right, so after we've mixed all of this up really well, we have to let it sit and just really absorb all of those flavors. Let this sit for at least 30 minutes before you start stir frying everything. If you can do 2 hours, even better. While this is marinating, we'll start chopping up our yard-long beans. The first thing I like to do is kind of line them all up and get the top part of the yard-long beans all on one side so I can just cut right through them. The top part tends to be maybe a little woody from where you cut it off on the vine, so that's just how I cut them all at the same time. All right, so I got them all with the top side here, and then I kind of just take my knife and push them to get them all as even as possible. That's pretty good there. And then let's just cut that off. All right, so next we're gonna just chop it up into slightly smaller pieces. I kind of like cutting them into about 2-inch long pieces, but just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then we're gonna gather all of this and put it in a bowl and just wait for the mushrooms to be done marinating so we can continue. All right, so after about 30 minutes to 2 hours, you should notice that there is a little bit of liquid being released by the mushrooms. That's totally fine. Do not dump that liquid out. We're gonna put it right into our wok as we stir fry for more flavor. So let's get the wok nice and hot so we can begin cooking. To begin, let's stir fry the mushrooms. They take a little longer to cook compared to the yard-long beans, so I like to give them a little bit of a 5 to 10 minute head start. Let's put them in the wok. Stir fry this for about 5 to 10 minutes, just making sure that it doesn't get burned. 10 minutes later, this is what it should look like. As you can see, the mushrooms have started releasing a lot of juice. So lastly, we're gonna put in our yard-long beans. And just stir fry this together. It's gonna take another 5 minutes or so for these yard-long beans to soften up a little bit and be cooked through. All right, it's all done. It looks fantastic. Just as a garnish, this is optional, but I really like to add some sesame seeds to the top of this, or cilantro, like chopped up cilantro if you have some. I like to serve this on top of a bed of rice, and as far as meat choices, I really like the flavor of beef with this. So try stir frying maybe some teriyaki flavored beef to go with this. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. recipe. And if you have any more unique and delicious recipes that use up yard long beans, please comment below. I'm always looking for new ideas on how to cook with them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.